Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Public Works Podcast. My name is Joseph Blackman. Today, got a real treat for you. His name is Mario Guzman, and he is the Public Works Director for the City of Boynton Beach in beautiful, sunny, humid Florida. Mario, say what's up to everybody.
Hey everyone, and thanks Joe for having me on. It's been my pleasure.
For sure. So let's get into it. You are the Public Works Director. Let's go over kind of what a normal day is like for Mario. I'm sure they're all different, but what's a random Thursday like for Mario? What are you doing? What do you have your hands on? And then also we're going to get into kind of what got you into the industry.
Okay, a normal day for a public works director, that's different. I think every single day is kind of different, which is pretty good. I have about 6 or 7 different divisions that I'm over, so there's always some kind of fire going on. But I will say that right now, as a city, we're going through a transitional phase. We're trying to get away from this firefighting and try to be more into the fire prevention aspect, which is not as exciting, but definitely less stressful. But this transition to using more data to make decisions, having more processes in place. That's what we're going through now. So just been here for about a year and a half, just kind of building the team, setting expectations. Like I said earlier, using data to make decisions, having some processes. This is a city that's growing tremendously. And sometimes I don't know if that we know how big of a city that we are. So we're just trying to get some processes and standards in place. But definitely a growing city in the southeast, coastal community. We have access to the beach and to the water, so it's kind of a gem. And
Nice,
how I
nice. So you talk about, yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you the firefighting, fire prevention. Where did that come from? Because you probably could just come in as a director a year and a half ago and say, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. We're just, we're going to keep showing up every day and do the deal. But what makes you want to invoke change and instill some practice, some processes and systems to be able to prevent fires instead of just having a fire drill all the time?
So that's a great question. The firefighting is insidious in nature because there's a problem and then you jump in and let's go in there and fix it. And then once you fix it, you fixed it. You're the hero. Give yourself a pat on the back. But the insidious aspect of it is that you have to find out what was the root cause of that fire. Why did that happen? Why did this happen? Why did this process happen? What caused that to happen? And that takes it more into process management. What caused this to happen? Not looking to place blame, but was there a policy failure? Was there a process flaw? Do that root cause analysis. Make sure we're not managing symptoms. And sometimes, to a certain extent, managing symptoms is firefighting. Hey, we fixed it. We did good. But what caused that? Is there a policy issue? Is there a process issue? I like to sit down with the team. I'll drive them crazy. Not that I'm trying to overmeet, but I like having all the stakeholders involved. Hey, let's look at this. Let's look at this process. Let's look at the flow chart. And I know we're government and people say we have red tape. I like to call it a systematic approach of checks and balances. But if we can cut down from 30 steps to 12 steps, that's a win. That's a plus. And when you start asking questions, I always have well, why are we doing this? And why? I always have a series of 5 whys. Well, why? Okay, but why? But why? And you start to find out, if the root cause is because we've always done it this way, then you're going to be continually fighting fires and continually managing symptoms. So yeah, that's part of the transition. It takes time, but it's more like, hey, let's be more inquisitive on when we're fixing our problems. Is this the right way to do this? Is there another way of doing these things? So yeah, the fire prevention is definitely a more tedious process, because once you get that policy in place, you have to implement it, educate the team. Hopefully we start doing it. But the reality is, if you're putting out fires every single day, I would question if you have policy issues. Like what's the root cause? Are you doing things the right way? Just simply, I'm not one to think you do, what is it, more with less. You do less with less. And sometimes we don't have the bandwidth to take care of all these things. And I like to take the thinking out of things. If things can be automated and everything's a process and we're following it, it just frees up that mental bandwidth for when issues do come up. You have a fresh set of eyes. And also, I'm big into work-life balance. Want to make sure that things are running smoothly. I want to make sure there's succession planning, so when you leave work, you're not constantly stressed out about things.
So I'm kind of asking for advice here, selfishly. So how does Mario delineate what's urgent versus what's important? Because a problem will happen two problems will happen at the same time, and you're trying to figure out which one should I throw water on first, and which one should I go and triage first. So where does Mario's brain go when problems are happening? You're like, okay, which one should we address first?
Yeah, I mean, selfishly, which one's going to burn me more? Which one's going to burn me the most? But no, but in all reality, like life safety things, you don't want anything to potentially put the public at risk. You have those things. It's a combination of definitely life safety is a high functioning thing of that. You have timelines. It's something doing the timeline that you have to look at. Sometimes something might not be as important, but it might have, it might be some low hanging fruit that could just appease a good, a good portion of the residents, things like that. But yeah, it's one of those things where you just have to, look at all this from a holistic aspect, and also ask yourself, do I need to do this right now? The ultimately, I don't want to be the guy fixing everything. That's not, going back to that insidious nature. I used to work in an organization where I had all the solutions. And selfishly, hey, I felt good. I'm the man. I fixed it. But in reality, I was doing a disservice to the team members. So a lot of times when I see these issues, I'm like, all right, let me get the team involved. Can you knock this out for me? And then you have that ownership, and that's how you start really building that trust culture.
Sure, sure, sure. I know Mario didn't wake up being a public works director with this kind of insight. So let's talk into your backstory. Like, what got you into the public space? I see you have a focus more on fleets. So, what, from high school, college, what was your journey like, your career path up to what you're doing now?
Okay, so I went to school in the Bronx, New York, and my grades weren't the best in ninth and 10th grade. And they were so bad that my parents actually came to school, which is the most embarrassing thing for a high school person. Um, and my goal when they met with the guidance counselor is, how do I get these parents out of here? Okay, I'm going to do good. I'm going to do good. Um, and remember, the counselor asked me, well, do you like anything? Do you really, what's your interest? I'm like, oh, I like cars. I like cars. Oh, we have an automotive program. And they put me in an automotive program. And it was like a vocational school. It was a high school that had vocational programs. And that really affected me later on in my career, because I grew up, like I said, in the inner city, wasn't the best area, kind of low socioeconomic area. However, that high school did have, uh, a lot of trades programs, automotive, drafting, culinary, just different programs. So I got into the automotive program. I didn't know it at the time, but like, I can't sit still for 4 hours. That's why I love public works, because I'm always running around all over the place. But I cannot sit still for 6 hours like that. That's not how I learned. But the automotive really, I really latched onto that, because it was like 2 hours of learning, and then you practicality, you're working on things, and it was something that I was good at. I'm not sure if I loved it, but I was just good at it. The good thing is, a lot of my friends worked at movie theaters and the mall, and I kind of envied them because they had a chance to hang out with other people. I was working in automotive shops, and I was like, man, I'm over here getting dirty working on cars, but I was making good money. So then there's that. But it's something that I just, from 14 to about, about, I was working at repair shops. Went to college for automotive. So, to your point, everything was very automotive based, technical based. When I moved down to Florida, I got a job with the Department of Transportation. Uh, Everything was automotive. I was a technician, working on cars, working on trucks, doing all that. I started working for the county. I was working on cars, working on trucks. Um, I was very competitive, so I had to be the best technician that there was. Um, I I enjoyed it. I didn't know if that's something I wanted to do for my career. So I ended up going back to school, and I worked on my bachelor's, and uh, started going for public management, and really, I first went for engineering, not an engineer, but then I went for public management, which is more on, articulating your point of view. There's not necessarily one right or wrong answer. It's how you express it, how you articulate it, how you can justify your cause. So basically, it's like arguing. I've been arguing all my life. So, but anyway, so I got into automotive with Palm Beach County, and I was given an opportunity. Once they found out I was going back to school and try to better myself, they gave me an opportunity. They opened the door and said, "Hey, do you want to manage contracts and maybe learn how to buy the vehicles that you're working on and all those things?" I actually took a pay cut to get that job, and that door was open, and I ran through and just absorbed. And fortunately, through that fleet space, got promoted and really found myself just really enthralled in every aspect of fleet. And fleet is, yes, it's automotive, but it the fleet departments work with so many other departments that you're exposed to solid waste, you're exposed to the streets division, you're exposed to utilities division. So just having those relationships, and me being a sponge at the time, I wanted to make sure that I was buying the right equipment for my customers. And in order to do that, I had to learn my customer's job. What I didn't understand at the time, though, I was learning a lot of the operations from them to help them buy their fleet needs. But it was actually, I didn't see that 10 years ago. It was helping me to be in the position that I am now. And then I left there, got more involved with facilities and capital improvements. And this opportunity came over here with Public Works, and I already knew so much about operations that a lot of the skills that I learned previously can be applied across the board. For example, right now we're we're implementing a work order system to kind of track our metrics, track our data. So the divisions that I have are streets, parks, fleet, facilities. They'll come to me later, but anyway, the data system that I'm tracking work orders. Let's see, streets break down, parks have issues, buildings have issues, cars have issues. You can apply a work order system for all of those. Work order turnaround time, tracking the cost on these assets. In essence, they're all assets. So I think a lot of those skills, thankfully I was able to broaden my horizons, and that's what kind of brought me to the public workspace.
I love when fleet guys talk about, like, because you even said your customers, and when the normal person thinks of a customer, you think of somebody that comes in your store, do business, and they're out. You never see them again. But a fleet guy's customers is your coworkers, the guys who you'll see pretty much every day, almost, and depending on how your department's ran, you'll see them all the time, and they'll be back and back and back. So you kind of have this innate, like, you want to do it right the first time, so you don't have to, like, see them again. If that makes sense. And I love how the ownership of fleet managers and fleet guys take of their their department, because it is something that they take pride in, because they're serving their coworkers. And I could tell it's translating through your other departments also, like you said, buying the right product for your constituents, for your coworkers. One thing I want to get into was skill sets. Like, I can tell, most mechanics, or not most, I don't want to paint them in that light, but you're not really dealing with people, like you said. But I can tell you know how to deal with people. And I didn't hear in your story where that switch was flipped to where you got this riz. You know how to talk. You know how to work with people. I'm sure, leaning over a engine, that doesn't come from there. So where did that come from?
Great question. I think we spoke earlier. I was born with the gift of gab, and I didn't know. Words are powerful. How you communicate is a very powerful thing. You know what I mean? And how you act is a very, it's also very not. It's very also very powerful thing as well. There's a lot of nonverbal communication. I started realizing that in order to be a good fleet manager, in order to be a good support services director or public works director, you're essentially working with people. You're working with customers. You know what I mean? So you have to understand how to articulate yourself in a certain manner, so that hopefully you can persuade them to see things your way. But when it comes to public works, fleet, or whatever it is, we're in the business of fixing things. So how are you going to fix things if you don't understand the problem? So I think a lot of the customer service base was just listening to people, and naturally coming up the way I did, you deal with, I love my blue collar guys, but we're a little bit raw sometimes, with the way we express ourselves. So a lot of times it's trying to, filter the white noise and hear someone and say, okay, I hear you. All right, so it's this, is that. And even though they may be arguing and fighting with you, still try to listen to the problem, fix it. And most time, 9 times out of 10, people say, hey man, my bad. I was just upset situation. I'm like, I get it. I understand. So a lot of it is just having that empathy and that sympathy to people, and really truly wanting to help them out, and realizing, hey, let me learn, let me listen as much as I could, speak as little as I could. And when I do speak, hopefully they do listen. So I think I was born with it, but it was that old nature nurture the debate. Maybe I was born with it.
Yeah.
but I did have
Okay.
to work on it on how to,
Sure.
express myself and all those kind of things.
Sure. Sure. Let's say one skill set you had to tell your younger self to get good at to be successful at what you're doing today. What would that skill set be?
Hmm. I would say definitely. I think when I was younger, it's important to care about your job. It's important to care about it. But I would definitely say to kind of, take a more tethered approach with your emotions. Don't get so emotionally invested. Very kind
Okay.
of a, what is that? That's a dichotomy in it, right? Because I'm telling you, you got to
Yeah.
care,
Yeah. Yeah.
you got to
But
own it,
don't get.
but don't get too emotionally involved.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
think sometimes when you get emotionally involved, it's like, this is my baby, you know? And if anyone has an idea against what I think, now you get up on your feelings. You know what I mean? You're all in your feelings now. Now you're making emotional decisions. And, be it business or professional, the majority of the bad decisions I've made throughout my life are emotional decisions. When I make clear-headed decisions, that's when things are good. I love our staff meetings because I encourage people to disagree with me. You know what I mean? And I encourage people to disagree with me, and we have a blast at it. Sometimes I'll come in, I'm like, hey guys, I have this phenomenal idea. It is the greatest idea, and I pitch it to the team, and they all take shots at it, and they all shoot out, and clearly it's a bad idea. And me jokingly, I'm like, well, I'm the public works director, we're going to do it anyway. And that's just joking around. But I love that we're able to create a space where, hey, it's collaborative, it's mission critical. What's the best idea for the city? And I try to encourage everyone that, hey, you might have an idea, I love you, think you're great, but that idea is kind of not that good, but you can't take it personal. So I think coming up in my career originally, I think I did care, but I was really emotionally invested with a lot of things, which is good. It sounds good, but you have to make business decisions. You have to have that clear head to make, database decisions. What's the best decision for the organization? And I'm still practicing that now because it's a balance. We are talking with people. You are dealing with people. Everyone's going through something at certain point. So you have to be empathetic and sympathetic. But at the same token, this is a business that we're in, and we have to, at the end of the day, produce results.
Sure, sure. All right, story time. I need a story from Mario of when something went wrong under your watch, what you did to fix it, and then what lessons you learned from it to apply to your future career.
Um, oh, I got a good one. Uh, Back in my fleet days, I was Mister, get it done, boom, 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 right away. I actually, I had to order some vans, and I'm sorry, some
The
buses.
shoes? Okay.
Some buses. I had to order some buses. Um, and well, I got two of them for you. One, I had to order buses, and they were supposed to be school buses with the gates and everything like that. I just yellow, fully decked out school buses. I just ordered them all white. You know, so a bunch of uh, 8 buses came in all white, and so
I've
that
done
was
that before.
yeah, yeah. Learning lesson was, hey, slow down, attention to detail, get the customer input, all those kind of things. So yeah, that's uh that's one of my mistakes I made, to kind of slow down, pace yourself. But let me give you a better example, actually. Um, from a leadership perspective, I since 2005 I've been, I would say, in executive management, right? Um, but I would say I've been involved in leadership. Uh, I would say since 2016, 17. I practiced leadership. Before I was a manager, like I said, I got things done. I fixed everything. I did this. I did that. I. And it feels good because you're fixing problems.
Yeah.
But the reality is, I fostered an environment where if there was an issue, you got to come talk to Mario. And that, like I said, very insidious because it pads the ego, and I'm needed. But you can only do so much. I ended up getting burned out, just fixing everything. It's not possible. Um, And so I think my leadership approach changed where I started getting everyone involved. So the mistake that I made was just, hey, I'll fix it. I'll come in. This is how we do it. We're doing it this way. Take charge. You know, Total wrong approach. My approach is to train my replacement and train their replacements. So really having everyone involved, and as the leader of the organization, is to build your team, and they're spending more time with you than with their family. So I try to keep it loose and try to keep it to where it's an environment where people can grow. The bad part about that, sometimes people grow and they seek opportunities elsewhere to better themselves. And if that's the effect of this culture, then I'm all for it. Because at the end of the day, we made someone's life better. So I would definitely say one of the mistakes that I had originally was not, um, taking more of that leadership approach, getting people involved. I was a good manager. You have to have management skills as you're a leader. I don't like having these absolute statements where you have to do it this way. There's a balance with things, but for the most part, really try to focus on people, better their experience, and that's how they really take ownership of the process. Sometimes I see someone doing something wrong, and I'm like, well, I know they're going to mess it up to a certain extent. It's not going to be that big of a mess up, but I'm like, what better lesson than to mess things up in my life? I've learned way more from messing things up than actual school and all those kind of things. So I really try to embody in all the aspects of leadership. And even with my team, my division managers, my supervisors, we're leaders in the organization. You know what I mean? We have to conduct ourselves a certain way. We have to make sure we are empowering our people. We have to make sure we're being empathetic, sympathetic, understanding people. And it's a balance of positive influence and accountability. And sometimes that needle, it moves. It's a moving target.
I love how you differentiate the manager versus the leader, because you think, oh, manager, they're a leader because they're ahead of everybody, right? They're at the tip of the spear, but you differentiate it, which is pretty cool because a lot of us think that if we're doing good as a manager, we're hitting our numbers. Our boss is off our back. We're doing a good job, but I like how you can always take it to the next level. So, what does Mario do proactively, intentionally to keep his sword sharp? Like, how do you keep showing up day after day, month after month, year after year, better than you were the year before?
Hmm. Good one. Good one. Good one. Well, I would say it's a path. It's not a destination. It's a path. Sometimes you're off the path, and that's okay, as long as you have that presence of mind, that situational awareness, and then you get back on it. I do think, you especially in the public sector, what we do affects communities, people's lives. You know, um, for example, City of Boynton Beach, we have areas that are very affluent, and then we also have very low socioeconomic areas. So, what can I do as public works to make these areas, these communities thrive? You know what I mean? I manage the parks maintenance department. How can I make that park look so nice so that if anything nefarious is going on, it's going to stand out? How can I make these streets much nicer and cleaner? You know what I mean? How can I partner with community leaders, with code enforcement from an education perspective, and an informative, educative perspective on, hey, let's make our communities better. So I think knowing what the core mission is, and it is really people. What we do is the route there, but it's really uh, how do you make people's lives better? You know, fleet. We buy police cars. It's more than a car. It's an officer that deals with, an officer's worst day is nowhere near as bad as my day. And I know that car, having the AC on, is going to just make his life a little bit easier. That car that he's driving is his office. We have to make it as comfortable, as safe as possible. Same thing with my solid waste operators. You know what I mean? They're out there taking out garbage every single day. What could I do to make their life easier, safer, make sure they come back home? So I think, again, having the people as the main focus. And to my point earlier, love what I do, love the service that we do. Build a good team, have processes in place so you're not always putting out fires. And then when I'm off the clock, I'm off the clock, because there's always going to be work to do. So I need that recharge time to be with my family, be with my son and my daughter and relax. And then also, left to my own uh, decision making, I probably want to sit on the couch and watch some TV or do something, but I actually force myself either get a good workout in, you know what I mean? Big into physical fitness, riding a mountain bike, kayaking. Everybody says I'm very outgoing and love doing things. A lot of times I don't want to do things, but I just do it anyway. And then when you're there, you're like, oh, this feels good, So um, I'm very thankful of the leadership team we have here because we have those conversations and we say to operate at this capacity and be successful and deal with everything that we deal with. You have to take care of yourself. That's part of that that function. You have to eat well. You have to disconnect, meditate, pray, whatever that is, work out. You that part of you being there for your team is looking out for yourself. I use the analogy, well, not the analogy. When you see when you go to airlines, it says, put your mask on first before you help others. You know, and I would say that's one thing post pandemic that self care that's a thing. That's not called selfish. How can I possibly lead and take care of my team members and try to be that positive influence if I don't have my stuff together? So a lot of times, you have to take that time out for yourself, take care of yourself. So when you come back, you're the best version of yourself. And that's easy to say. We're all humans. Sometimes you make mistakes and you fall down. That's perfectly fine. As long as you have that situational awareness, say, you know what, dust off, get up, and get back at it again.
I like it. I like it. Let's say we asked your wife's best friend, like, what does Mario do all day, every day for the city of Boynton Beach? What would she get wrong in answering that question? Like, what's some of the biggest misconceptions about a public works director?
Well, I think government as a whole, people think it's, hey, break time, you know? So I always get a kick out of, employees that come in that are not from the public sector and they'll work here for like 2 weeks and their heads are like spinning. And I'm like, hey, how's this government gig? Huh? Pretty cool, huh? Pretty chill. I say it sarcastically, facetiously, I tell them. So I think they don't, you know, we do have stakeholders, but we also don't. We have residents, you know, and they live in that community and you have to take care of your residents. And like I said, you're affecting people's lives from a public safety aspect, from a beautification aspect, and you have that influence. Um, where I think a lot of other organizations might not have that ability, So I, that's where they might get it wrong, where they think, hey, it's just a government job. You just come in, you plug to the wheel and do all that kind of stuff. And then the other thing, if people find out I'm a public works director, like, oh, he's the public works director. It's just a job. Let's keep it loose.
Sure, sure. What would you say is the most notorious or infamous or frequent text message you get about stuff around town? Like a buddy texts you, "Hey man, this stoplight is tripping," or "Hey, it's flooded on this side of town." Like, what's the most common message you get?
I I would say solid waste. Our sanitation division, because we touch the public every single day. So it's either, so right now, sometimes illegal dumping is kind of a thing. So we try to set up cameras, keep your garbage in a certain pile, don't put it there. That's one. Streets, yeah, speed bumps are popular now where I'm at. And also potholes and also the education on sometimes people are like, hey, this street is all messed up. And it's, yeah, but that's not our street. That's a state street. All right, what about this one? Yeah, it's a county street. So just that education piece of, hey, this is a multi-jurisdictional city where some streets are owned by the city, some aren't. But definitely solid waste operations and streets are the biggest, the most demanding.
Gotcha, gotcha. Let's say we took your city, Boynton Beach, put it on like everybody had to look to your city for one thing because you guys are crushing it, you're getting it right. What would that one thing be?
Um, I would say the leadership that we have, the support, the knowing that we don't know everything, but we're counting on our people to help us out. Boynton Beach is a very, very proud city, as far as residents, as far as people that work here. You got people that are born and raised here, and it's just a history. There's a fabric, there's a sense of camaraderie within the city, and just to be part of that is an exceptional thing. So it's hard to express it, but it's just that thing, that we had a leadership meeting today, and it's just everyone's just the collaboration, the joking around, and when things get serious, they do get serious. But just having that kind of, I'm very appreciative of having the space to do what I do, and knowing if I make mistakes, hey, okay, we'll run with it. You know what I mean? But not only me, I try to have that with all of my employees. I think Simon Sinek coined it best. A trapeze artist is going to take chances and do different kind of tricks and innovative things if he has that safety net under him. If he doesn't have that safety net, he's going to be very calculated and not take any risks because he doesn't want to fall and die, right? So we try to be that safety net to our employees. Hey, you're operating in your space to do what you need to do, to have that level of discretion, that autonomy to make your decisions. So I think that's where we get it right.
Okay. Okay. Let's say you're commissioned to put up a billboard. This billboard is in the most trafficked area of Boynton Beach. What ask of your community would you put on this billboard?
Um, I think it would be, I don't know how we put it on a billboard, but I would say that, we're here for you. A lot of times, when people ask me, hey, what do you do? I'm like, I work for the evil empire. I work for the government, you know? Yeah, it's the government, but what is it really? It's people. It's people that come to work just the same way you do, and you live in this community, and we're here to serve you. And we're not always going to get it right, but let's be partners in this. Let's not have an adversarial, hey, this and all that. And I really have to thank the community, because a lot of times, I don't have there's a finite number of employees that I have and resources, and we can't catch everything. So we rely on our community to let us know, hey, look, this is over here. Hey, thank you. I recently had one where had a very spirited community member told me, hey, we don't have any sidewalks to the schools, and our kids are walking, on the street. And I said, all right, ma'am. I went out and met her, and she gave me the business, and I'm like, thank you, appreciate it. But I was out there walking with her and saw everything that was going on. And that's actually a project that we're trying to kick off, using ARPA funds and stuff like that. And it's to tie, that aspect of it. Because like I said, I don't know if I would have known that if I would have had I not been out there seeing it, thanking her for being such a vocal, advocate in her community. So it's definitely having those partnerships, to people know, hey, we're here to work for you. Let us know what's going on. We serve at the will of the public.
Sure, sure. Let's say everybody from Boynton Beach is listening to this podcast. What would be the biggest, most impactful pat on the back for your operators that are out there as we speak, getting it done? What would be like the kiss on the lips of a thank you for those guys?
Um, I think those words, saying thank you to them. They come in every day. We have operators that are here at 5:30 in the morning, out there working. We have people that take care of their parks that really like, for Public Works Week, I actually worked with every single division, and to see how these people, my team members, care about what they do, knowing that, hey, you know what, families come here and spend time with their family and making memories, and we're creating that nice space. My facilities team, the AC is working, the lights are on, everything looks nice and pretty. They're facilitating that environment where business is being conducted. Fleet mechanics, the technicians are working on vehicles, keeping people safe so they can serve the community. So I think knowing that, we do care about what we do. We do care about what we do, and we're out there to do the right things. And we're not always going to get it right, but know that our heart's in the right place. And if we do get it wrong, hey, let's work together on a partnership, because we don't have all the answers. And I see things from a public works prism, if you will. I do need people to check my blind spots, to let me know, hey, this is wrong, that's wrong. But um, just a big good old thank you to the troops.
Love it, love it. All right, I always like to leave a space on the show for you to thank mentors that you had along your journey, and then also offer a word of inspiration and motivation to your industry counterparts.
Mentors that I had, I would say definitely my high school teacher. He was super rough on us. You know what I mean? And I needed that. That was needed in the Bronx. Um, if we were gonna miss school, like kids would miss school, they'll cut class. I couldn't. I had to call out sick. You know, and I was like, who calls out sick? Like, who does that? If not, he would drop you from the automotive program. I'm like, are you kidding me? But those are the skills that basically, think about it. He's training you at 15, 16 to call out sick and be responsible. So I think definitely him. Without a doubt, I had a fleet manager at Palm Beach County called Doug Weishman. He really kind of another guy. I'd come in there, hey, I think we should do this. What do you mean you think? Give me the facts. I had to come with him with figures, facts, and all that kind of stuff. And if I didn't have my figures and facts right, I mean, he'd give me a hard time. But I learned from that. I learned from I learned from, hey, it's great leadership, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, we have a job to do. Get your facts right, get your numbers right, get your things, get your give people the data so they can make better decisions. Keep your thoughts and stuff out of it. So definitely. And then I had uh, a deputy city administrator, Dorrit Miller at the city of West Palm Beach. She definitely leveled up me. You know what I mean? She definitely, hey, how to conduct yourself, how to, you know, very sophisticated, how to articulate yourself, how to keep your cool, that calm demeanor, all those kind of things. Without a doubt, she had probably one of the most impactful ways of how I conduct myself, how I treat people. She's very, very hard, but very empathetic. So that's one person that definitely, is just like, wow, that's awesome. So uh, things I would tell people, do what you love, be happy doing your job, know the influence that you have. I can't come in if my water heater it breaks down in my house and I'm in an upset mood, and I come into the office with that funk on me, that upset, that's going to affect the whole team, you know, and so just be mindful that everybody's going through something. Come in with that positive attitude, even when you're not maybe in a good mood. Just be positive about it, because that is contagious. And be mindful of your words, how you talk to people, and your words do matter. You do have an influence. You've been fortunate or blessed if you're in a leadership position to affect someone's life in a positive way, and I don't take that lightly. So, and
Sure.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Let's say I text you ahead of time and I'm saying, hey, I'm coming to Boynton Beach. I'm like, Mario, where can I go to get the best burger in Boynton Beach? Where are you going to send me?
Oh man. So first I'm gonna question your menu choices. I'm gonna say, man, we coming to South Florida, baby. We're by the
Dude,
water.
I
We
don't
gotta get
want
some
fish, man.
fish.
I don't want fish.
Oh man, but no,
I'm allergic to
definitely. There's
crustaceans,
all
man.
right, all right. There's definitely two of our premier locations, a place called Prime Catch and Two Georges. They've been a staple here in Boynton Beach. It's right on the intercoastal. You can enjoy your meal and watch the boats go by, and that's always a good thing. I had a couple team meetings over there just to kind of get people out there and look at the water and say, hey man, we're good. We're a team. We got this. So without a doubt.
Okay. Prime catch. I love it. Love it. All right. Well, Mario, thanks for hopping on the podcast. Thanks for sharing your wealth of information and knowledge with us. To all the listeners out there, make sure you share this with somebody who you think needs to hear it. Maybe there's a youngster, he's in mechanics class right now, or he's in vocational school, and just let him know that he can follow Mario's path to get to where he wants to be in life. Mario, before we get out of here, any final words?
No, thank you so much for having me on. Like I said, I love the work that you're doing. I love the love that you're showing to public works, with respect to our brothers and sisters in law enforcement and public safety, which is highly important. A lot of times people don't see public works, utilities behind the scenes, you know, uh, you know, search and rescue has its place. And it's a finite amount of time. But after that, there's roads that have to be accessible. You have to have drinking water. You have to have electricity. You have to have the tools to move the trees out the way. So we're all in this together. And I love when we talk about when we talk about public works as public safety as well. And I love the credit that you give to everybody doing all over the place. Boynton Beach is not. It's unique, but it's not. Everyone else is doing the same stuff we're doing. Everyone else has roads, parks, streets. So pleasure to be here, talk a little bit, and thank you for having me.
For sure. For sure. Thanks, Mario. All right. Well, this has been the Public Works Podcast, and thanks for tuning in.